July 22, 2024, 8:17 a.m. Security cameras at the Glacier Gorge Trailhead entrance in Rocky Mountain National Park, Colorado, capture a woman approaching the trail registration kiosk. She's wearing a teal Columbia hiking jacket, gray athletic leggings, well-worn Merrell hiking boots. Her brown hair is pulled back in a braid. She's carrying a navy blue daypack. Standard hiking gear for someone planning a morning on the trails. Her name is Sienna Whitfield, 31 years old. She's a graphic designer from Denver. Lives alone in a small apartment in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. Works remotely for a marketing agency. She's an experienced hiker, has been hiking Colorado trails for 6 years, knows the basics, carries the 10 essentials, checks weather before heading out, tells people where she's going, does everything right. Sienna is at Rocky Mountain National Park for a day hike. She drove up from Denver early this morning, 2-hour drive, arrived at the Glacier Gorge parking area at 8:10 a.m., found a spot easily. Summer weekday, not as crowded as weekends, but still plenty of visitors. She locked her Subaru Outback, gray color, Colorado plates, grabbed her daypack, walked to the trailhead. At the registration kiosk, Sienna stops, signs the trail register, writes her name, emergency contact, her roommate's phone number, planned route, Alberta Falls Loop, 5 miles, moderate difficulty, estimated return time, 12 p.m., everything documented, standard protocol, smart hiking practice. She takes a trail map from the dispenser, folds it, puts it in her jacket pocket, adjusts her backpack straps, takes a sip from her water bottle, clips it back to her pack, checks her phone one more time, battery at 94%. She's prepared, she's ready. She starts hiking. The timestamp on the trailhead camera reads 8:22 a.m. Sienna enters the marked trail, walking with confidence, steady pace. She's done this trail before, knows what to expect. Beautiful scenery, waterfall at the turnaround point, well-maintained path, popular with families and day hikers. Safe. The trail starts with a gradual uphill climb through pine forest. Well-marked, clear, easy to follow, signs at regular intervals, mile markers, directional arrows. This is one of the most popular trails in the park. Thousands of people hike it every year. Park Service maintains it carefully. It's about as safe as hiking gets. At approximately 8:58 a.m., another hiker captures footage on his GoPro camera. He's hiking with his family, records constantly, captures scenery, wildlife, trail conditions. In his footage, there's a brief glimpse of Sienna, passing them going uphill. Mile marker 1.5. She's moving steadily, alone, appears confident, gives a friendly nod as she passes, continues up the trail. That footage would later be crucial evidence. The last confirmed sighting of Sienna Whitfield on the Alberta Falls Trail. By 1:30 p.m., Sienna's roommate, Maya Chen, got a text that made her concerned. Actually, she didn't get a text. That was the problem. Sienna had said she'd text when she finished her hike, let Maya know she was heading back to Denver. Safe. Standard practice they'd established. Sienna always checked in after hikes. Always. Maya sent a text. "Hey, you done hiking? Heading back?" No response. She waited 30 minutes. Tried again. "Sienna, you okay?" No response. Tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Now Maya was worried. This wasn't like Sienna. She always responded. Always kept her phone charged. Always stayed in communication. By 3 p.m., Maya called Rocky Mountain National Park Ranger Station, explained that her roommate had gone hiking that morning. Alberta Falls Trail. Should have been done by noon. Was supposed to check in. Hadn't responded to texts or calls. Phone going to voicemail. Could they check if her car was still in the parking lot? A ranger drove to Glacier Gorge parking area. Found Sienna's Subaru, still parked, still locked. No sign of Sienna. The ranger hiked the Alberta Falls Trail, called her name, looked for any sign of her. Reached the falls. No Sienna. Hiked back. No sign of her anywhere on the marked trail. By 4 p.m., park rangers initiated search and rescue protocol. Multiple rangers deployed, hiking all trails in the area, checking off trail spots, popular viewpoints, places where hikers sometimes wander, calling Sienna's name, looking for any trace. By 5 p.m., additional resources were called in. Search and rescue volunteers, K9 units, helicopter with thermal imaging. This was now a full-scale search operation. Experienced hiker, Missing for potentially 8 hours. Last known location, Alberta Falls Trail. Weather conditions good, daylight remaining, but time was critical. Search teams worked through the evening, called off active searching at dark, 10 p.m. Resumed at first light, July 23rd, 5:30 a.m. Fresh teams, new resources, expanded search area, covering not just Alberta Falls Trail, but connecting trails, off-trail areas, rocky terrain, creek beds, anywhere someone might have gone. Meanwhile, investigators pulled all available information. Trail register showed Sienna had signed in, listed Alberta Falls as her route. The trailhead camera showed her entering at 8:22 a.m. The GoPro footage showed her at mile marker 1.5 at 8:58 a.m. After that, nothing. No other hikers reported seeing her. No cameras on the trail itself, just wilderness. And somewhere in that wilderness, Sienna had disappeared. Investigators interviewed everyone who'd been on the trail that day, looking for anyone who'd seen Sienna, anyone who'd seen anything unusual, anyone who might have information. One hiker remembered something. A man at the trailhead that morning, wearing what looked like a park volunteer vest, bright yellow, official looking. The hiker had seen this man talking to several people, offering trail advice, pointing out good photo spots, acting like he worked there. The hiker had assumed he was legitimate, park volunteer helping visitors, common at national parks. But when investigators checked with Park Service, they confirmed they had no volunteers stationed at Glacier Gorge that day. No official personnel matching that description. So who was this man, and what was he doing posing as a park volunteer? Investigators requested anyone who'd been at the trailhead that morning to share photos or videos, any footage that might show this man, his face, his appearance, anything that could help identify him. Several people responded, shared photos from that morning. In the background of some photos, a man in a yellow vest, talking to hikers, pointing at maps, looking official. Investigators enhanced the images, got a partial view of his face, average build, mid-30s, baseball cap, sunglasses, partially obscured but visible enough for facial recognition analysis. On July 24th, 2 days after Sienna's disappearance, a search team made a discovery. 3 miles off the marked trail, in a steep ravine, dense vegetation, area rarely accessed by hikers, no trails nearby, just wilderness, a daypack, navy blue, same brand Sienna had been carrying. The pack was examined carefully, on-site first, then transported to forensics. Inside was Sienna's wallet, her ID, credit cards, trail mix, sunscreen, water bottle half full, but no phone. The phone that had been at 94% battery when she started her hike, gone. The location was significant, 3 miles off trail from Alberta Falls, in a direction no reasonable hiker would go. Steep terrain, difficult to navigate, no scenic views, no reason to be there unless you were deliberately going somewhere specific, or unless someone led you there. Search teams concentrated on that ravine area, expanded outward, looking for any sign of Sienna. K9 units tracked scent from the backpack. Dogs picked up a trail, followed it deeper into the ravine, further from any marked trail, into increasingly remote terrain. Then, on July 26th, 4 days after Sienna disappeared, search teams found her. Approximately 1 mile from where the backpack had been found, in dense undergrowth near a creek. She'd been deceased for several days. Medical examiner would later determine cause of death as blunt force trauma and exposure. She'd been attacked, then left in a remote location, miles from help, miles from any trail. She'd succumbed to her injuries in the elements. The discovery devastated everyone. Maya, Sienna's family, her friends, the search teams who'd worked tirelessly hoping to find her alive. That hope was gone. Sienna was gone. Now the investigation shifted, from search and rescue to homicide. Who had led Sienna 3 miles off trail? Who had attacked her? Who had taken her phone? Left her backpack in a ravine? Left her to die in the wilderness? The man in the yellow vest became the primary suspect, posing as a park volunteer, offering advice to hikers. But what advice had he given Sienna, and why had she followed him off trail? Before we continue with how investigators identified this man and what they discovered about his pattern of targeting solo hikers, if cases like this matter to you, Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. We cover real investigations, real evidence, real victims who deserve justice. Hit like if you think Sienna's story needs to be told. Comment your thoughts. Because what investigators found next revealed this wasn't Sienna's first encounter with this predator, and she wasn't his only victim. Investigators worked with Park Service to identify who this man was. The photos from other hikers showed him clearly enough for facial recognition. They ran the images through databases, looking for matches, looking for anyone who'd been flagged in connection with parks, with hiking areas, with anything suspicious. They got a hit. The facial recognition matched a man named Derek Walsh, 34 years old, lived in Boulder, Colorado, about 45 minutes from Rocky Mountain National Park. He had a minor criminal record. Trespassing charge from 3 years ago, dismissed. Disturbing the peace charge from 5 years ago, also dismissed. Nothing major, but his face matched the man in the yellow vest. Investigators pulled everything on Derek Walsh: social media, employment history, known associates, found he was unemployed, had worked various odd jobs over the years, outdoor equipment stores, seasonal work at ski resorts, nothing stable, nothing current. His social media showed extensive hiking activity, dozens of posts from different national parks, state parks, wilderness areas, always alone, always in remote locations, photos of trails, scenery, but also several posts that raised red flags. Posts about finding hidden spots away from crowds, posts about secret trails the Park Service doesn't want you to know about, posts about helping lost hikers find their way. The language suggested he enjoyed positioning himself as knowledgeable, as a guide, as someone who could show others special places. Investigators obtained a warrant for Derek's residence, searched his apartment in Boulder on July 28th. What they found was deeply disturbing. Multiple yellow safety vests, the kind worn by park volunteers and trail workers. Derek had purchased them online, wore them to appear official, to gain trust, to make hikers believe he was legitimate park personnel. They also found maps, detailed topographic maps of Rocky Mountain National Park and surrounding areas, with specific locations marked: remote ravines, areas far from trails, places where someone could take a person and not be seen, not be interrupted. They found a journal, handwritten entries describing encounters with hikers, describing which ones seemed trusting, which ones listened to his advice, which ones followed him, reading like a predator documenting his hunting process. Most disturbing, they found a phone, not Derek's personal phone, a different phone. When investigators accessed it, they found it was Sienna's phone, the phone that had been missing from her backpack. Derek had taken it, kept it as a trophy. Derek Walsh was arrested on July 28th, charged with kidnapping and murder. He initially denied everything, said he hiked frequently, that's why he had maps and vests, said the phone must have been found, said he didn't know Sienna Whitfield. But investigators had evidence. Photos showing him at the trailhead the morning Sienna disappeared, wearing the yellow vest, the maps with marked locations matching where Sienna's body was found, her phone in his possession, forensic evidence linking him to the scene. During further investigation, detectives discovered something else. They reviewed missing persons reports from the past 3 years, focused on cases involving hikers in Colorado, found 2 unsolved cases, both involving women who'd disappeared while hiking alone, both in remote areas. Both cases had gone cold. One was Sarah Martinez, 28 years old, disappeared while hiking in Roosevelt National Forest in June 2022. Last seen at a trailhead, never returned to her car. Her body was found 3 weeks later, miles off any trail. Cause of death undetermined. Case went unsolved. Another was Emily Chen, 32, disappeared while hiking near Pikes Peak in September 2023. Last seen starting a day hike. Her backpack was found days later in a remote area. Her body was never recovered. Case remained open. Investigators compared these cases to Sienna's. Similar patterns. Solo female hikers, disappearing from popular trails. Bodies or belongings found miles off trail in remote locations. Could Derek have been involved? They showed photos of Derek to families of both women, to hikers who'd been in those areas on the days the women disappeared. One witness from the Roosevelt National Forest case remembered seeing a man in a yellow vest that day. talking to hikers, offering trail advice. The description matched Derek. Investigators searched Derek's apartment more thoroughly, found more journals, older entries, descriptions matching Sarah and Emily, locations matching where their bodies or belongings had been found. Derek had documented multiple victims. Sienna was his third confirmed victim, possibly more. Prosecutors built a comprehensive case, charged Derek with 3 counts of first-degree murder, Sarah Martinez, Emily Chen, Sienna Whitfield, additional charges of kidnapping, evidence tampering, impersonating an official. Derek's attorney tried to negotiate, offered cooperation in exchange for avoiding death penalty. Derek would provide information about all his victims, locations, details, in exchange for life in prison instead of execution. Prosecutors considered. The families wanted answers, wanted to know what happened to their daughters, wanted closure. The deal was accepted. Derek confessed, admitted to targeting solo female hikers over 3 years, explained his method. He'd arrive at popular trailheads early morning, wear the yellow vest, position himself near the registration kiosk or parking area, wait for solo female hikers who seemed inexperienced or overly trusting. He'd approach them, offer unsolicited advice, mention a better view or hidden waterfall just off the main trail, make it sound special, exclusive, worth the short detour. Most people declined, stayed on marked trails, but some were intrigued, some followed him. Once off trail, away from other hikers, Derek would attack, overpower his victims, take them deeper into wilderness, to locations he'd pre-scouted, remote ravines and areas where bodies might not be found for weeks or months. He'd take their phones, scatter their belongings, try to make it look like they'd gotten lost, had an accident, not that they'd been deliberately led to their deaths. Sarah had been his first victim in 2022. He'd offered to show her a scenic viewpoint. She'd followed. He'd attacked her in a remote area of Roosevelt National Forest, left her there. Her body was found 3 weeks later by chance. Emily, in 2023, similar method, offered to show her a secret trail with better views than the crowded main trail near Pikes Peak. She'd followed. He'd attacked her. Her body was never recovered. Hidden in terrain so remote searchers never found it. Derek provided the location during his confession. Her remains were recovered months later. Sienna, in 2024. Derek had seen her sign the trail register, noticed she was alone, approached her about 10 minutes into her hike, told her about a spectacular viewpoint just a short walk off the Alberta Falls Trail, said most tourists didn't know about it, made it sound worth the detour. Sienna, trusting and excited for good photos, had followed him. He'd led her 3 miles off trail, into the ravine where her backpack was later found, attacked her there, took her phone, left her backpack hidden, led her even further into the wilderness to the location where she was eventually found, left her there, believed she'd die from injuries and exposure before anyone found her, believed his pattern of making it look like hiking accidents would continue to work. The confession was detailed, disturbing. Derek showed minimal remorse, described his crimes methodically, like he was explaining a routine task, not confessing to murdering 3 women. The trial began in March 2025. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence. Photos of Derek in the yellow vest at multiple trailheads, the maps with marked locations, the journals documenting his victims, the phones and personal items he'd kept as trophies, his detailed confession. Families of all 3 victims attended. Sienna's parents, Maya, Sarah's family, Emily's family, all there to see justice, all there to hear Derek held accountable. Defense argued Derek had mental health issues, that he wasn't fully capable of understanding his actions. But prosecution countered with evidence of planning, premeditation, the purchase of vests specifically to appear official, the scouting of remote locations, the careful selection of victims. This wasn't mental illness, this was calculated predation. On April 18, 2025, the jury returned verdicts. Guilty on all counts. 3 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of kidnapping, impersonating an official, evidence tampering. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge's statement was powerful. Mr. Walsh, you exploited people's trust in park officials. You wore a vest to make yourself appear legitimate, trustworthy. You targeted women who were alone, vulnerable. You offered to show them something special, something beautiful. and then you led them to their deaths. Sarah Martinez, Emily Chen, Sienna Whitfield. 3 women with lives, families, futures. You took everything from them. You showed no mercy. You showed no remorse. This court sentences you to 3 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. 1 for each victim. You will never be free. You will die in prison. And that is still inadequate for what you took from these families. Derek showed no emotion, accepted the sentence in silence. He's currently incarcerated at Colorado State Penitentiary, maximum security, isolated from general population for his safety. Will spend the rest of his life there. The case led to significant changes in national park operations. Better training for visitors about verifying credentials of anyone claiming to be park personnel. Warning signs at trailheads about staying on marked trails. Increased ranger patrols. Emergency communication systems on popular trails. Changes that came too late for Sarah, Emily, and Sienna, but might protect future hikers. Sienna's family established the Sienna Whitfield Trail Safety Foundation, providing education about solo hiking safety, teaching people to verify anyone claiming official status, to stay on marked trails, to trust their instincts if something feels wrong. Resources distributed at trailheads across Colorado and beyond. Maya Chen became an advocate, speaks at hiking organizations, outdoor groups, tells Sienna's story, makes sure people understand that predators can appear anywhere, can seem helpful and friendly, can use official-looking clothing to gain trust. If this case affected you, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. Share your thoughts on hiking safety and trail awareness. This channel covers real cases, real investigations, real victims who deserve justice and remembrance. Hit like if you think Sienna's story matters. Share if you think hikers need to hear this warning. Derek Walsh used the wilderness as his hunting ground, used fake authority to gain trust, used people's desire to see something special to lure them to their deaths. He targeted solo female hikers, women who trusted him because he seemed official, because he seemed knowledgeable, because he seemed helpful. Sienna did everything right, signed the trail register, brought proper gear, told her roommate where she'd be, but she couldn't have anticipated Derek, couldn't have known the friendly park volunteer was actually a predator with a yellow vest purchased online. Remember Sienna Whitfield, 31 years old, graphic designer, experienced hiker, loved Colorado wilderness, trusted the wrong person, and paid with her life. Remember Sarah Martinez, 28, also trusting, also deceased because Derek posed as someone helpful. Remember Emily Chen, 32, first victim whose body wasn't found for years, until Derek's confession revealed where he'd left her. 3 women, 3 lives, all stolen by a predator who knew how to exploit trust and use wilderness as his weapon. Thank you for watching, for caring, for learning from these tragedies. If you hike solo, please be aware. Verify credentials of anyone claiming to be park personnel. Real park employees have official badges, name tags, and can be verified through ranger stations. Don't follow strangers off marked trails, even if they promise better views, even if they seem official. Trust your instincts. Tell people your exact route. Carry communication devices. Stay on marked trails. Because Derek Walsh proved that predators can be anywhere, can use official-looking vests to seem legitimate, can target people in places that should be safe, in national parks, on popular trails, in broad daylight. Security cameras showed Sienna entering the trail at 8:22 a.m. GoPro footage showed her at mile marker 1.5 at 8:58 a.m. After that, Derek approached her, offered to show her something special, led her off the marked trail, led her to her death. She left the marked trail because she trusted him, because he seemed official, because she thought she was safe with a park volunteer. She wasn't, because Derek wasn't a volunteer. He was a predator with a plan. Justice was served. Derek will die in prison. But Sienna, Sarah, and Emily are still gone. Their families still grieve, their dreams still unfulfilled. This was their story. This is why we remember. This is why we stay vigilant. Never forget that marked trails exist for reasons. Safety, navigation, protection. When you leave them, you're vulnerable. When you follow strangers into wilderness, you're at risk. Derek counted on people trusting official-looking vests, counted on people wanting to see hidden views, counted on women hiking alone being trusting when someone offered help or advice. He was right 3 times. 3 women followed him. 3 women died. How many others declined? How many people saw Derek in his vest and said, "No thanks, I'll stay on the marked trail"? We'll never know. But those people survived because they didn't follow a stranger into wilderness. Honor Sienna, Sarah, and Emily by being that person who says no, who verifies, who stays on trail, who trusts instincts over politeness. Their stories are tragedies, but they're also warnings, lessons, calls to awareness that can save lives. Sienna Whitfield entered the trail at 8:22 a.m. on July 22nd. She never came back, because she left the marked trail, because she trusted someone who seemed official, because Derek Walsh was waiting. Remember her. Remember them all. Stay safe, stay aware, and never forget these aren't just stories. These are real people, real families, real losses that should never have happened. Derek Walsh will never hurt anyone again. That's justice. But 3 families still live without their daughters. That's the tragedy we must never forget. This was their story. This is why trail safety matters. This is why we verify credentials. This is why we stay on marked trails. This is why we remember. Thank you for watching, for caring, for honoring these women by learning from what happened to them. Sienna Whitfield, Sarah Martinez, Emily Chen, gone but never forgotten. Their stories told, their memories honored, justice served. Stay safe out there. Honor them by being vigilant, by staying aware, by never following strangers off marked trails no matter how official they seem. This was their story. This is why we remember. This is why marked trails matter. This is why trust must be earned, not assumed. Rest in peace, Sienna, Sarah, and Emily. Your stories will save others. Your memories will protect those who come after you. Justice was served, and you will always be remembered.